Hey guys, long time no see, and I'm so sorry about that. I know it's been a while since a lot of y'all have seen me on this platform or any of my social media platforms, but that's for a good reason. I've been in school for a few years trying to obtain my Master's of Science degree in journalism. It's taken me a lot longer than I expected. I am getting towards the end of that journey, however, because I'm seeking graduation next month, May of 2025, and I'm just so excited. I just felt like I have a little bit more time, than I have had in previous years because I've just been so busy multitasking school with work, with, all types of things in life and everything. And a lot of transitions have happened in my personal life during that time as well. Some good, some bad. I just felt like the milestone that really marked me coming on here and just sort of letting you know everything that's sort of happening is just that I finally scheduled my final defense to complete my degree and everything. And basically, what a final defense is me defending my research and the work that I've been doing for the past few years. So basically, completing a thesis is completing an original scholarly paper, basically. So, like how back in grade school we wrote essays based on books. It's sort of like that, except it's an extended scholarly paper, and then some of what I wrote is original research, whereas an essay based on a book, it's all based on the information that is written within the text and everything. So it's sort of slightly different. It's not just references from other research, but it's also including brand new research that's, never been done before. Even though my individual work is a combination of a previously written work combined with my original research. Ultimately, once it's published it online, it would be something that anyone could read a review and possibly build upon in their own original research one day as well. So say for example, another student, enters the same program I'm in and decides to do similar original research, they could cite my work within their work moving forward. In obtaining a master's degree, I will also have license and eligibility to become a professor as well. And so that's how it's all connected, if you're following what I'm saying. But basically, what my research is about, if I could sum it up in a sentence, because it is like 200 something pages long, it analyzes how white and black press outlets framed the 1916 lynching of Jesse Washington using critical race theory and hermeneutics, which is the theory and practice of interpreting meaning, especially in text, speech, or symbolic actions, and to reveal how historical media narratives continue to shape journalistic responsibility and racial representation today. I basically looked at a bunch of old newspapers, and those newspapers provided coverage of a very real historical event, which was the 1916 lynching of Jesse Washington. In this event, it was a mob lynching. It was absolutely terrible. Any lynching is terrible, but when it comes to thousands of people, like basically brutally killing a person in a very graphic way, it sort of sensationalizes a very tragic event. And also, this took place during a time in America, if we all recall history properly, or were taught history properly, we would know that in 1916, racial segregation was legal in America. And even though it was really bad, and even though we all understand that to be bad now, hopefully we all understand that it received global coverage. So it wasn't like an ordinary public execution. And it was a whole book written about it by Patricia Bernstein that I highly implore everyone to read, not just people in academia, not just historians, but just regular everyday American citizens, because you should know the history of the country that you live in, right? And even people around the world at one point knew of this event, and so they should continue to know about this event. But once again, it was written about in a book titled The First Waco Horror, The Lynching of Jesse Washington and the Rise of the NAACP by Patricia Bernstein. I just basically took a part of that novel and I expanded upon a specific part, which was editorial coverage. What I concluded in my research basically is that the white press just tried to protect Waco, Texas, because this is where the event took place, instead of ethically reporting on the event itself and ethically reporting on the character of Jesse Washington. basically described Jesse Washington, a young African American man, as a brute, which is another word for savage. They didn't see him as a human being. They justified the mob lynching, saying, basically, if any black person commits a crime, it's totally okay for them to be killed for it. It doesn't matter how light the crime is or how serious the crime is. It doesn't matter, if they were proven to be innocent or guilty. If we commit a crime, we just deserve death, and which is obviously wrong, like so wrong, beyond wrong. And then the black press basically came in and said, hold on, we're going to provide a counter narrative here. And basically what a counter narrative is basically the opposite of what the white press was saying. We're going to say, y'all were saying, it was justified for a mob to kill him. We're going to say there's no justification for any mob to kill any person. And in this case, the brutality was so gross, and the legal precedents for this young man to be brutally killed in this way, there was none. There was no legal precedence for him to be killed in the way in which he was publicly executed, with law officials present, but not with law officials themselves presiding over the execution. The brutality of it got global coverage, and it made not only Waco, Texas look bad, but it made all of America look bad. And basically, the black press was saying that the citizens of Waco, Texas, as well as the editorials that didn't defend, Jesse Washington in any way, shape, or form, should be ashamed of themselves. And they basically, called to action, saying, hey, these lynchings shouldn't be happening, racial segregation shouldn't be happening, and, this young man deserves justice. And this is very similar to a lot of the things that we saw happening during the Black Lives Matter movement, which, debatably hasn't ended. There's still a lot of public executions of African Americans today in 2025 of our community, the African American community, and other marginalized communities as well. My work is saying we need to continue ethical reporting on racial injustices, because just like back then, racial injustices were happening, they're still happening. So, which means that as journalists, we need to be accountable in how we're ethically reporting. I'm just sort of exiting this imposter syndrome that I've been experiencing for the last few years. I'm trying to get my mental health right, and in this process, it's just been me basically having to reiterate the same exact research I've been working on for many years and stuff. So just bear with me. And honestly, these videos, they serve as a testimony, to what I've been going through. So I'm really going to try not to cry. I dislike people that get on social media just to cry. Just know, if y'all ever see me cry on social media, it's because I just genuinely got emotional in that moment, and not because I'm about to say, oh, let me, cry, click play on the video, then, click stop and then stop crying afterwards. I'm not one of those people. It's just been such a hard journey, and I've literally been through like several mental health crises on this journey. And I mean, you can ask anyone who has completed a graduate degree before, and they'll tell you just how difficult it is, or at least try to, because it just takes you so far out of your element that it's like you look in the mirror, you don't even recognize yourself anymore. You're just like, who is this person? And what am I going through? And will I ever be this? Will I exit this process ever being the same ever again? And not just in the sense of you finding your way back to who you were before you started the journey, but also in the sense of like, will I ever just not go crazy ever again? Will people still see me as sane and stuff? And will I ever love myself again? Because imposter syndrome, it isn't surface level. It's actually very deep, and it takes you to a very dark place, I would say, to where you're questioning everything about yourself, and if you'll ever be good at anything. And of course, when I say all this, I'm not necessarily discouraging anyone from obtaining their graduate degree, but I'm just sort of sending a warning out there, just saying, hey, you might want to prepare yourself for what you're about to get into. And of course, I understand that there are people out there who don't believe the process is this difficult. They might agree that it's tedious, but they might not say it's technically difficult. It could just be my individual perspective. However, given that, I have been in this process for so long, I will just say, it's very far from easy. God forbid you come from, a family that's not well off and you have to seek scholarships and things of that nature too. It makes the process that much more harder. And now that we're seeing everything that's happening with this current administration here in the US, things, they have a tendency to get harder before they get easier, right? However, even in this moment where I'm just sort of, finally having a little bit of breather time in between working on my thesis, because at this point I'm just waiting for my edits to be sent back to me from my thesis committee chair, I just had this creative spurt, and it's so weird because I haven't had one of these, and I don't even know why I'm calling it spurt. I haven't had this creative tendency for a while, even though I grew up in the performing arts and everything. I woke up one day after having like another mental health crisis on this grad school journey, and something just told me I want to write a song based on the feelings that I've been having going through this graduate school journey. This song is really short. It doesn't provide a lot of clarification. The primary emotion that I would say that I've been experiencing, unfortunately, is depression. Even though not everyone finds the process to be depressing, sometimes they might say it's challenging. I was diagnosed with clinical depression, and I just think this journey was just so difficult that it sort of tugged on my depression more than any of my other mental health, issues that I may have been experiencing during this journey and even outside of this journey. I'm just going to go ahead and share the song that I wrote, and I meant to memorize it before I shared it with you all, but honestly, while I just have this time before I have to really start preparing for my final defense, I was just like, let me just go ahead and post this. Let me just, let me put this out there, especially before I have another creative, outlet spurt type of thing happen to me. The title of my song is Feeling So Blue. It's an original song once again, and I wrote it by myself, and I wrote it on April 3rd, 2025. I have to say that for copyright purposes. I just don't want anyone to steal my lyrics and then try to make money off of it, basically, y'all. Before I even get into it, don't judge me too harshly on it. Like, I'm not a songwriter or musician by any means, even though I grew up in the visual performing arts world, practicing visual performing arts world. I have to emphasize that I'm a better actor and singer than I am a musician per se, and songwriter. Like, I never was really good at, reading music notes and stuff like that. So y'all just gotta bear with me, okay? I'm still trying to like get my feel of what I want this song to sound like and everything. But just know, generally going into it, it's a blues song. And here is Feeling So Blue. I've been feeling so blue. I've been feeling so blue. I got shoes on my feet, but nothing to eat. Been on this journey so long, I don't recognize me. I've been feeling so blue. I've been feeling so blue. Yeah, I've been rowdy, been showing some skin. So empty, cup full of some gin. I've been feeling so blue. I've been feeling so blue. Need to get to that green. Why I feel so unseen. But the world is so mean. Wanna stay unseen. I've been feeling so blue. I've been feeling so blue. B said black girls don't look good in blue. But even that can't change my mood. I've been feeling so blue. I've been feeling so blue. 'Cause I've been feeling so blue. Whew. Man, thank you. It feels so good to get that out. The Lord just said, you got something on your soul, get it out. So I just got it out. That's my testimony. And I'm just glad to be back. Yeah, I love y'all. Thank you so much for everyone who's been supporting me thus far. It just feels good to share all of this.